Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us today. I have the extreme honor and privilege of having a very special guest that I get to share with you. There's a couple people that I've met in my journey of transforming from ordinary to extraordinary. And I connected with Tim Storey a few years back. We actually met in a line to a Grant Cardone event, and you got me snuck in there behind the scenes. And the power of that story is that, people, when you partner up with the right people, they can get you ahead of the line, right? And so I love that about you. But as I introduce you, and as I was reading the book, I used to do a book club, and I want to get this, back into the minds of everyone that reading is so important and everyone needs to get this book and plug it into them. There's a line in here that I want to use to introduce you, Tim, and it was the words of Charlie Sheen that I feel like are the words that speak to your greatness. And when you reconnected with him, he said that you represent the person I know I'm supposed to be. And how amazing is that when you come into interaction with someone and all of a sudden you feel like, man, I got to step up my game. And it's almost like there's a burden on us when we get in your presence, but it's a good thing. And in today's environment where a lot of people feel a lot of burdens on them, I really wanted you to come talk to our audience where you're going to be open up to thousands of people. And we are all holding on to a burden right now, and we're ready to go to the next level. But we need a little Tim Storey in our life to lift those burdens and then expose that extraordinary person. So, for someone who is like the mind coach and the spiritual coach to Oprah, Grant Cardone, Natalie Cole, Kanye West, Smokey Robinson, Paul Mitchell and his business, Robert Downey Jr., Quincy Jones, and the late Rick James, even in the final moments, you being around, it makes people know I can step up my game. So I want to introduce you.
What an introduction.
Yeah. Well,
my goodness.
For you. And if you can, let's break this book down for the minds of people. You speak so much wisdom. And I want to open up with that Proverbs where it says that if you walk with wise men, you will become wise. But
yes,
if you are in the companion of fools, it says destruction is coming your way. So we are in the presence of a wise man. So I welcome you. And I want to start off with you just explaining, why do we need to have a miracle mentality today? A miracle mentality.
Well, number one, thank you for the privilege to be on your platform and what you're doing. And I'm thankful for what you're doing and helping so many people, educating them, having conversations that lift people's lives higher. So thank you for the invitation. I think that all of us have a miracle mentality, that it's innate. And I know this by speaking at schools for little kids for all these years. When I go do events in different countries, I always say that I want to speak at orphanages. I want to speak in their inner cities to kids because I want to tell them stories to lift their mindset and their imagination. So if I go into a school of children, let's say if they're 6, 7, or 8 years of age, and I say, what do you want to be when you get older? They'll say things like, in the NBA, or one country, a little girl said, the Queen. She was serious. Another little boy, an astronaut. None of them say, I want to be bankrupt 9 times. I want to be divorced 5 times. Because it is innate inside of every human that we are superific. Kids think they're superific. They play with Spider-Man. They play with Batman. They never play with Loser Man. They think they are superific. They have some superpower. No doubt about it. So, what happens to us then? Who stole my superpower? I'm going to help you in this book, Miracle Mentality. Somebody done swiped some of your superpower because you used to think you were super. And some people say, no, 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 Tim, I was the shy kid. You still thought you were super at something. No, no, I was withdrawn because my parents were abusive. You still dreamt about someday I won't live in this silly house. So we have to align ourselves back with the superpower and the miracle mentality that has always been us. And that's what I do.
I love this. You know, in the book, it opens up with saying that we have to be open to the idea that wonderful things can sweep into your life. And what you're saying right now is that when you open yourself up, because you know life sometimes closes us, right? We guard ourselves, but when we build those walls, like we let, you know, sometimes the good from not entering. So you talk about this three: education, observation, and conversation, right? And if we could use that to move through really what it takes to go from ordinary to extraordinary. We need the right education. We need to observe the right things, like how important is visual to our world. And then we need to talk to the right people. The conversation has to be there.
Yes.
Otherwise, we stay dormant in that ordinary state and we start spectating in the lives of other people that are great.
Okay, great setup for me. So thank you. So ordinary means, watch how I break this down, but this is years of doing it. Ordinary means common, regular, status quo. And I think that people realize they were never meant to be normal, common, status quo. And you're exactly right that if you're not careful, you'll get stuck in that ordinary life, never to release your extraordinary life, and just becoming a voyeur of people on Netflix or whatever you watch and saying, oh, look how amazing their life is, or people that I follow on social media, look how amazing they are, but then you're stuck in the ordinary. So how do I get out of my ordinary existence? You just gave it to me from my book. Number one, education, conversation, observation. So when I was 13 years of age, one of my older sisters was dating a very powerful man. And he had a Mercedes Benz. And he came to my house, that my sister was there visiting my mother because she lived in Newport Beach already at the time. And he came in his big Mercedes Benz and he liked me. So he asked my sister, can Tim come with us for lunch? And I thought he was a cool guy and that was nice of him to invite me. But as we got in this big bomber Mercedes, which I'd never been in something like this, he said, no, 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 let me get the door for you. So he opened the door for my sister and then he opened the door for me. And then I tried to close it. He goes, no, 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 I'll close it. And I'll never forget the sound of the door closing. It went like this, pa-pump, pa-pump. Our doors, when we were kids, they went eek, like if they needed WD-40 or something. So that was an observation. I said to myself, one of these days, I'm going to get a car that when you close the door, it goes pa-pump. And then as we were driving to the restaurant, he was listening to classical music. Then when we went to the restaurant, because that's the kind of business he was in, he was ordering things. I didn't know you could do these appetizers that way, and how nice he was and attentive to my sister and attentive to me. I said, that's the kind of man I want to be. So you have your education, learning, your conversation, what we're doing now, the observation stepped me up about 3 levels right there at 13.
Wow. I love this. What this also reminds me is that, as you do well in life, everything is like a character test, right? And,
Yes.
God blesses us with the small. He sees how we handle it so that when we get the big, will we be an example of a responsible person that can lead the way for many? And I feel like this is a calling for so many people. So, whenever you're going through and whatever you have right now, take care of maybe the little that you have. I've always I have nice things now, but even when I had my Honda Civic, this was my pride and joy. The whole $200 a month I was paying for felt like everything. It felt like a mortgage
Of
payment.
course.
And I took care of it because I wanted to have that. So you talk about, the messy, the mundane, and the mad. And,
Yes.
a lot of us feel like we're living in this right now where our lives are just messy. We're starting a new career, things are messy. We're easily angered, right? We're easily sent to this like angry place. And then some of us, maybe we're stuck in the mundane, right? We're stuck in this place of so much routine that we're losing the spirit of life. And then
Yes.
I want you to share, like, how do we go from the mundane, messy, and mad to the magical? And
Okay.
how does having this mindset transform us to get to this place where life is magical?
So watch how I simplify this and make this easier than we make it in our mind. For anybody that has children or anybody who is like an aunt or an uncle, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is that children like to play, PLAY. So little kid will wake up and say, "Can I play?" Or even if they don't ask you, they just start playing. Okay, so they wake up and they think play. They don't think chores. They don't think I'm going to beat the sun up. They don't think I'm on my grind. They don't think I got to pay the rent. They think, can I play? Can I play? But okay, now you're in kindergarten, so you got to go to school, but then you can play. So they come home from school. Can I play? Yes, but first you got to clean this up. But then can I play? But yes, but then we have to eat. But then can I play after we eat? So they're constantly looking for playtime. So the thing is with adults, and I life coach the most powerful humans in the world. I've been to 75 countries. So I teach people that are billionaires that they need a playtime. And they're always blown away by this because most of these people are doing the thing that they knew to do to get them to the place that they now are. And that is they're plowing the ground, they're planting the seed, they're watering the seed because they want to reap the harvest. Okay. But as you know, because you understand spiritual things, there's a time to plow, plant, water, harvest. Before the harvest comes, many times you have to kind of just back off and let the thing sprout. So I believe that too many people are uptight and they don't make time for the magic to happen in their lives. They don't make time for the miracles to happen in their life. They don't make space for the miracles to happen. So you need to go back to your childhood and think about how you made time to play, to let your imagination soar and watch what happens. You'll align yourself again with the miracle mentality. Any creative that I work with, that's what they do on a daily basis, including Oprah Winfrey.
I love this, and you talk about in one of your speeches, you talked about growing a capacity to give yourself the confidence to know that you can produce great work so you're not so uptight, right? And this is a fault of my own. I tend to over prepare and I get so in the zone, but at the same time I have to let like the magic flow through me and allow myself to know, like, in my past I am just naturally going to prepare, right? And you
Yes.
talked in your book, you gave this story about when you were washing dishes, when you were doing the mundane things, and people would go to you and say, Timmy, you're washing the dishes like you
Yeah.
own the place.
Yeah.
How do those things line up, right? So when we are in the mundane, we do it with such level of care, right? Not casualness, care. So that when we get later on in our life, we can allow the magic to flow because we can have the confidence of knowing that this is going to get me to a place where I can do those things.
I have to give you a compliment. You're good with your verbiage. Good verbiage, because what you just did, not just being carefree or careless, but to do it with care. It's like handle with care, handle with care. So when Mr. Anderson gave me a job at his restaurant that he had put in so much of his savings, which was a nice restaurant, and he gave little Timmy Storey a job to be a dishwasher. I was taught by my parents to honor people. So me doing his dishes was a privilege, even though it was minimum wage. But the cook, Mickey, who was only 7 steps from me, had a whole different mentality. He saw it as a job. I cannot stand it. I'm getting the hell out of here. And I saw it as what a great opportunity to build somebody's vision. So it's no surprise why I would be invited all over the world since I was 20 years of age to speak on the biggest stages in the world with that kind of attitude. So I master my mundane. Whatever most people call mundane, I master it. So I mastered the dishwashing. I mastered being a busboy. I mastered being a waiter. I mastered when people treated me like crap when I go speak in places that they did not get me in the early days. I mastered how to handle it. I mastered how not to speak up. I mastered how to speak to older people who are wiser than me, to not try to outsmart them. I mastered my mundane. And when you master something, you start getting upgraded. Yes.
I love this. And it really just shows how you went from that dishwasher with the care to sitting and being invited to Oprah's home with all those world leaders and being able to carry a conversation with the elegance and grace that you have. So I love this. And, that's inspiring for so many of us where you say master the mundane. Because for a lot of us, we're so busy spectating. And I really want to dive into this more deeply with you, Tim, because a lot of us are so caught up in this thing that I called like a celebrity culture world, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we are so fascinated by them now more so than ever because we have like such high level of accessibility, right? They can post, we can watch their background life and we start to, what it's actually doing, we think it's connecting, but it's actually creating more distance. And if people
Yes.
can understand that, it's powerful, right? So how do we in today's world use these things to inspire us but to connect us to who we are? You're there?
I'm here. So I see that, all of us are amazing people, everybody on the planet. Maybe you're not acting amazing, but you were built to be amazing. And that I don't see one person as higher than the next. So my idea of a celebrity is that we're all celebrities. A celebrity means to be celebrated. So if your mother celebrates you, you're a celebrity. If your boyfriend celebrates you, you're a celebrity. So to be a celebrity means you're celebrated. So I've never seen like certain people like, oh, they're here, so therefore they're a celebrity. They're here, therefore they're not. I treat everybody the same as somebody that's amazing. Okay. So I think the key is, okay, so now that you know you're a celebrity, that's cool. Now you don't have to chase it. I just saved you a lot of exhaustion. So now the key is that why am I here on this planet? How should I live? And if there's an assignment for me to do, what is it? Wow. When you find your assignment, there's nothing like it. You're on. So, like, what I'm doing is I'm living because I enjoy life and I enjoy my playtime in the midst of all of the stuff that I have to do. But I also enjoy my assignment, and that is to help people realize, recognize, and go forward in who they really are. There's nothing like knowing your assignment and acting out in your assignment. And I think you would agree with that.
I do agree. When you talk about in the book, you break it down very nicely. You speak about doing training with the Paul Mitchell trainees in their school, and you tell them, instead of looking at who they are, look at what they do, right? Look at what they do, and that's what you should get excited about. How do we, in this world where we're almost being taught about like instant gratification, right? We live in an Amazon world. What that means is
Yes.
like we push a button and it's there overnight. Before, if you had to buy furniture, you'd have to place an order,
You're
someone would
right.
make it would be delivered months later. Now, if you told someone they had to wait months for furniture, they would probably get mad. Like in your book, experience
Yeah.
zero magic. So how do we, live in 2021 and then still have the ability to work on those things so that we can get to this life? Focus on the work instead of like the arrival.
Yeah, I like what you just said. Focus on the work and not the arrival. And also, be in the moment that, life is such a gift. So be fully present, fully feeling, fully alive. Smokey Robinson says this about me. He says, Tim Story acts as though he's got really cool jazz music playing in his mind at all times. And that's really the truth. I could see like an accident break out here, a fire over here, some disturbance here, and I would just be like this. Why? Because I trained my mind. I've trained my mind. It just did not come naturally. It's something that I've done to train myself.